Good morning. So why is the food forest guy talking about solar power? Well, part of permaculture is trying to collect the resources that come into your space. One of the resources that comes into my space is sunlight, and it comes in and hits my roof in a particular place and produces heat. I would rather have it produce electricity, and so I installed solar panels. So I'm taking advantage of the resources that are coming into my system, harnessing them, capturing them, and then using them for my own benefit. That's what permaculture is about, and that's kind of what I'm all about with my food forests and other aspects of the way that I try to live. So a couple of years ago, I had solar panels installed on my roof, and I learned a lot during that process. I want to share what I learned with you so you don't make some mistakes that some people make. I was fortunate to sort of sidestep some of those mistakes, and I almost made those mistakes myself. So glad that I didn't. My solar system is working really well several years in. This is the third year that we've had it. So I like it, but just some things that I would like you to think about before you have solar installed. Because right now there's a big push for solar, and what that has created is kind of an environment that's incentivizing scam artists. And so as a supporter of solar energy, I really don't want it to get a bad rap. And so you need to do your research. Otherwise, you're going to become very quickly disillusioned with the process if you get stuck with one of these scam systems that are legitimately being sold right now. And you need to be really careful. So first off, before you even think about installing solar, do an energy audit in your home. Your electric company may be able to come in and help you with that. And you can find lots of resources online that will tell you what to do to reduce the amount of energy that you're using. This is really important because many people think I should be using as much energy as possible before I get my solar panel so I can get the biggest array possible and sell my electricity back to the electric company. That is a dream. Just walk away from that dream. You are producing energy for your own home. You are never going to become your own power plant and actually make money off of it in the long run. You might make money for a few years. In the long run, you're going to maybe break even. Hopefully, you'll save money on your electric bills. That's really the goal. And also take advantage of solar power, which is free and being wasted at this point, just turned into heat on our roofs instead of turned into electricity when we put solar panels up there. So some of the problems that I ran into initially when I started doing my research, after I had eliminated a lot of waste in my home and dialed it back and could get a sense of what I really needed for electricity, I went out and started looking for a good electric installer for solar panels. Now, when you start Googling this stuff, you are going to have a whole list of people at the top of that list, and those are people who are paying a lot of money to get themselves up to the top of that list. And who's eventually going to pay them back? No matter how good the deal sounds, it's you. You are going to pay for that ad up at the top, and they're paying a lot of money to keep their ads up at the top. They have centralized call centers where they will promise anything, because as soon as that salesperson is done with you and has sold you that system, that salesperson never has to talk to you again. They walk away, they move on to the next customer. They don't care what they have said to you because they sold it. They get the commission and they're done. So if you are talking to somebody at a centralized call center who you can hear the echoes of other people talking in the background, you're talking to the wrong person. You need to be looking for a local company. And the reason I know this is because that was the first company that I almost signed up with. I interviewed a few companies and I found one. They were based in Colorado. They had some good recommendations, but then when you looked closer at the most recent comments about this company, when I did my research on them, I found a lot of people were dissatisfied. So the good comments were way back in the list, more recent ones, since they centralized everything in Colorado, those comments were terrible. But I talked to these guys on the phone first, and it sounded great. They promised me the world. This guy was confident that they had people in my local area who knew what they were doing. They were going to make this happen for me. It was going to happen quickly. It was going to happen smoothly. And what I found out later was he was wrong about a lot of things about the process, because he didn't know Rhode Island. He didn't know Providence, my city. He didn't know the zoning laws in my city. He didn't know my rooftop, which he could see from a satellite image, but he didn't really know it. And so he was making promises, and as soon as we were done, he was going to hang up that phone. If I said yes, pass me on to somebody else, he would have made his sale and he'd be done. Okay, so don't go with a large, centralized company that is managing project all around the United States. They will outsource to a local installer, and then it's a crapshoot as to who you're going to get if you get one of those big. So why not, if you're going to end up with a local installer anyway, why not talk to that installer yourself and cut out that chunk of money that installer is paying to the big company, and they will give you a better deal. They will give you better solar panels. So you need to find a local company. And that's what I did here in Rhode Island. I found a great company, and they set me up with a really nice system. So there are right now many low quality solar panels out there. And solar panels are separated into two different types. Some have what are called micro inverters that are right inside the panels, and those are some of the best panels you can buy. The company who produces the best microinverters is Enphase. So look for, at least right now in 2021, Enphase, very good company for getting microinverters. So inverter is the thing that turns the electricity you get from your solar panels into the kind of electricity that you can use in your house. So it's a big, it can be in your basement, in which case you've got one centralized not a microinverter, but an inverter that is buzzing down there and taking care of all your panels, or you can have microinverters in each panel. Panels with microinverters might be a little more expensive, but if you ever want to change your system, having panels with microinverters is a big plus, because when you change your panel, you don't need to change that inverter that's in your basement, because the inverter is actually on the panel. So microinverters, very important. I have Panasonic panels, which were top of the line a few years ago. I don't know, you need to do research on what is top of the line right now and make sure that those are the panels you are getting. Absolutely sure. You need to make sure that that's what you're getting. It's the top of the line panels. You don't want any panels that you haven't very thoroughly researched. So when you talk to local companies, you want to find a company that's got good reputation in your area, and you want to sit down with a salesperson, and if you feel like you're being pushed into something, push back, push them away. That means that this guy is working just on commission, and he is going to try and sell you whatever he can, and he's going to walk away with a nice fat commission. People deserve to get paid for what they do, and they deserve to get paid a fair price for what they do. However, having somebody who just works on commission is an incentive for that person to not necessarily tell you the whole story. So you should talk to somebody who is not purely paid on commission, and you should straighten that out before you agree to see someone. When you're calling around, ask, how are your representatives paid? Are they on salary? Are they on commission? How is that handled? And if you get somebody who's on salary, they're going to tell you an awful lot more, which is what I finally ended up with. I was so happy. When he sat down with me, he explained to me the pros and cons. He explained to me it worked with me on the system that I wanted, and it went really well. But if you're talking to a person who is just a salesman and just paid on commission, the incentive is not there for them to tell you the full story. And there's a lot of story to be told. All right, so anytime if you feel at all uneasy with somebody you're talking to in this process, go with your gut. They are probably trying to scam you, because there are a lot of scam artists out there right now in the solar industry. Door-to-door salespeople. That's another thing to avoid. If you are approached door-to-door by somebody who is selling solar, politely say no. And if you're interested in solar, go research that company, but research other companies. But the chances are that door-to-door salesperson, once again, they're trying to get those commissions. They're not going to tell you the full truth. It's not in their best interest to. And the sad thing is that in this day and age, not everybody is telling you what's not in their best interest to tell you. So realize that. Just because it's solar doesn't mean that it is a group of really nice, earthy people who are just trying to do the best thing for you. That's just not the case these days. So when you go to purchase your system, if your company, if your electric company offers you something called net metering, and that basically means that when the sun is shining and your solar panels are creating electricity, your meter runs backwards. And then when your solar panels are not getting the sunlight, your meter runs forward. What you're doing there is you're using your electric grid as your battery backup. Now, this is really important if you want to save money with your system, and that is that battery backups cost so much money that the only reason to have a battery backup is if you're in the middle of nowhere and your electricity goes out all the time. Otherwise, even with a solar system, a little electric generator in your garage will do the trick to carry you through. You don't need to have that battery backup. Very, very expensive, and it's environmentally expensive too. The batteries that they make for those, not good for the environment when they're mining the materials. So skip the battery backup if you can. Go with net metering, which means your meter runs backwards when the sun is out, and then it runs forwards again when the sun is not shining. And over time, the electric company is your battery, and they will essentially store that electricity for you, theoretically, and give it back to you when you need it and can't produce it. And that is the most cost-effective way to use solar energy. It's not installing a battery backup in your house. That may change in the future, but honestly, if you have the option of net metering, go with it. Absolutely. There are other versions of this that they will try to sell you, and even electric companies will try to sell you. And one of them is, hey, we'll pay you up front. We'll pay you a higher amount for your electricity than you are paying us. And so that means that when you're producing your solar energy, you're selling it to them for maybe 50 cents per kilowatt hour, and then you buy your energy back at 25 cents per kilowatt hour. Sounds like a really good deal, right? You're making money on your solar panels. Doesn't work that way in the long run, because what happens is you buy this 20 years from now, they're still going to be paying you, maybe, although many of these terms stop after 15 years. So after 15 years, until that point in 15 years, they'll be potentially paying you 50 cents per kilowatt hour, right? And today, the price is 25 cents per kilowatt hour. Sounds great. However, energy costs tend to go up by about 10% per year every year. And it's not very long before you're going to be paying 55 cents per kilowatt hour, and they're still going to be paying you 50 cents. Then you'll be paying 60 cents per kilowatt hour. You'll still be contractually in this deal with them where they're only paying you 50 cents. So now you're losing money producing solar electricity. Whereas if you'd gone with a net metering system, by that time you would still have the same deal, and what they were charging you would be what you were charging them. It's the same thing. And then After that 15 years runs out on your original terms, they're not obligated to pay you anything. They're not obligated to create a net metering system for you at the end of those terms. You don't know what your terms will be after 15 years. So if you're going to still be in your house in 15 years and plan to still be using your solar, you don't know what that's going to look like. So right now, as you're planning your system, if you plan for net metering, it's not going to change in 15 years. Whereas those terms where you're selling electricity to them, you got this great deal for the first couple of years. Hey, that's what helps me pay for my system, right? It might be no good in 15 years. You might have those solar panels up there, and the electric company might say, oh, whatever you can produce, you don't have to pay for, but we're not going to act as your battery. We're not going to give you back that extra electricity at the end of the month or in months that you need extra electricity. So get that on paper now. Sign up for net metering, not some other quirky system that sounds complex, because if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Which comes to my next point. Don't buy a system that is bigger than you need, unless you really think you're going to upscale your energy needs in the next few years. Also, I only bought panels that were situated on my roof, or that could be put on my roof, on the sunniest side. If you put panels on the sides that get half a day's sun, you're just losing money from the start. You're never going to make up the money that you spent on that solar panel. So invest in solar panels that are in the best orientation toward the sun. And if you can't get a good solar orientation, you might want to think about other alternative energy deals, because solar just might not be for you. If you've got a tree blocking the south side of your house, the roof, it's not gonna work out for you for solar. Sorry, it's just not going to. So take those things into account when you plan, because you can spend a lot of money on a solar system and not get anything back. I undersized my system. The reason I did that was only one side of the 4 sides of my house was getting sun most of the time. And so that was the most productive angle. I get 95% of the sun that shines on that side that gets absorbed by those solar panels. It's a really good orientation. The other sides of my house, the 4-sided roof, the other sides, not so good. And so if I had put panels up there, I would have spent a lot of money up front, never would have made back the money that the solar panels cost for the installation and everything else. So just think about that when you're installing these, and don't go for an outsized system. Go for a system that you know you need. Accept the fact that you either need to reduce your energy use in your home, which most of us can do, or that you are going to pay a little bit to the electric company, but this solar system is going to offset that. Perfect is really the enemy of good in this situation, and you need to just think about what you can use, and then you will be saving money. If you're trying to put a system up there that you're going to make money off of, you're not going to make money off of it, so don't waste your money. And finally, the best way to save money in the case of your solar system is to pay for it yourself. Anytime you're paying somebody to finance this, they are going to take whatever savings you're really getting off of the solar system. They're going to pocket that, not you. So you can finance it as long as you finance it on a very, very, very low rate. But if you get into some agreement where you're renting the solar panels that are on the top of your roof to somebody else just for the privilege of using solar, chances are you're not going to end up with a very good deal in the long run, and you're going to have solar panels that have some weird obligations attached to them up on your roof. So if you can't afford to buy solar panels, save up for solar panels. And one of the reasons you might want to do this is because solar panels will continue to drop in price. So the time you're saving money, you'll be saving even more because good quality solar panels will come down in price during that time. Save that money and then buy your system. That is how you save money on solar. Also, cut back on your electricity use right now, and that, in combination with saving money to buy your system, is going to save you even more. So if you can conceivably look at how much you're paying, say you're paying $100 a month for your electricity right now, cut that back. Find ways to cut that back by, say, 25%, and then take that $25 a month and start saving it for your solar system. Add to that, obviously, because $25 a month is going to take you a decade before you've got enough money to buy a solar system. But if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. If you can conceivably save $100 a month, well, then within 4 or 5 years, you're going to have enough to buy a solar system for the roof of your house. And in the meantime, you will cut back on your electric use, and you will have cheaper and possibly better solar panels if you do your research carefully. So that is my advice to you. Don't be in a hurry to jump on this bandwagon. Do your research thoroughly. Look for microinverters, look for high quality panels, look for solar installers who you really are comfortable with and who have a good local reputation. Talk to the people who have used these installers. Talk to them a year after they've had them installed. How are those systems performing? If they're not all thumbs up, this is an awesome company, because that's how I feel about mine, then that's definitely not who you want to go with. So, lots of scammers. I don't want solar to have a bad name, and so that's why I made this video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Love to hear your comments. If you have a particularly good company that you would like to recommend in your area, put that down below, but I don't want to hear from solar companies putting their own recommendations in. You need to be willing to talk to somebody about why you like the solar company that you went with and what your experiences have been, if you want to comment on it like that. Also, if you're interested in my garden videos, you might also be interested in foodforestgardenclub.org, which is my website where I get together with people regularly on Zoom chats and we talk about our gardens. And it's really a really comfortable feel there. I'm just loving it, and I think you will enjoy it too. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have an awesome day.